So here we are, day 3 of our study guide portion, where we dive deeper into the scriptures that we just read. Okay, lots to say here. Also, if you have any questions or anything that you are wondering that I may not have touched upon, drop a comment and we can address it. Okay, so let's see. So we started in chapter 8, where Noah was still in the ark, and he was waiting for the waters to kind of dissipate so that he could come out, because we already know the waters reach like 20 feet above the mountains. So he had to wait for those waters to come on down. So he sent out that dove to let him know if it was time to come on out, right? And the dove let him know. When she brought back that leaf, he was like, okay, there's life here. The trees are now, if the trees are visible, that's a good sign. And so then he waited another 7 days. The dove didn't come back. So he knew it's time to go. So, but what I liked is that when he came out of the ark, the first thing he did was he built an altar before God. And then he sacrificed on the altar the clean animals. That was the thing that I really liked about this, was that he gave reverence to God, immediately, and that I thought was really good. So like, even like in our lives, and like, we may not build an altar, like, when they built, but our altar is wherever we're praying, so wherever you go into your place where you like to pray, that's your altar. That's your place that you're giving to God, And so some people like to pray in the bathroom. Some people have a closet. Some people just have the floor next to their bed. Some people pray in their bed. Everyone has a place where they kneel down or prostrate themselves and pray and offer up those prayers to God. And that is your altar, that place where you go and you pray. And we're also, we're supposed to pray at all times. So wherever we are, we should be praying as well. But I did like that. Also, that the promise that God gave us, this is the first time, I believe, where God, no, did we speak of covenants before? I don't think we did, right? I think this is the first time when God made a covenant with us. He made a covenant with mankind, and he made a covenant with the earth and the animals. So you might be like, what's a covenant? So let's hear. So here it says in Genesis 8:20 and 9:17, the major covenants of God begin with the covenant made with Noah, according to 2 Peter 3, chapter 3, verses 3 through 7. There is a distinction between the former heavens and the earth and the present heavens and the earth. The former were created in the beginning and were destroyed in a universal flood. The present heavens and earth are reserved for fire and are kept for judgment and the destruction of ungodly men. 2 Peter 3:13 affirms and believes, wait for new heavens and a new earth to come. This understanding is foundational to God's covenant with Noah. So it says here, the covenant that's found in Genesis 8:20, chapter 8, verse 20, and chapter 9:17, it says, after the flood, Noah excited the ark and built an altar to the Lord with burnt offerings. The Lord promises Noah that the earth would never be flooded again because of man's sins. This covenant is made with Noah, his sons, and all human descendants. It is also made with all of the living creatures, birds, cattle, and beasts of the earth. The specific covenant is that the present earth will remain, and planting and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night will continue, right? He said it will not cease. A flood will never again destroy all life on earth. The sign of the Noah covenant is the rainbow, which is a reminder of God's promise and a sign to humankind that God will keep his covenant. It is traditional in both Judaism and Christianity to recognize by a blessing or prayer the covenant of God when one sees a rainbow. The obligation of humankind is this covenant is related to blood. Human life must not be taken by man or by animal. An animal life may be taken for food, but the blood should not be consumed with the meat. God's covenant with Noah is important because it is used in scripture to connect with the other four covenants. In each of these covenants, we see a claim that as long as day and night, season and the earth remain, God will maintain his covenants with Abraham, Israel, David, and the new covenant described by Jeremiah. Okay, so for more on covenant, you can read Genesis chapter 17, verses 1 through 21. But we will get to that. That's basically the covenant that God made between Abraham and himself, and which is what we have access to as believers and Christians, and um, which is part of the new covenant that we have in Christ Jesus. But we will get into that as well. Okay, so also, what is a covenant? Right? You might be like, what is a covenant? A covenant is a promise. It's, like, how when you if you sign your name on a document, it's binding, right? It is, if you sign for a car or a lease or any type of agreement, that is your binding word that I will pay this car note, or, so a covenant is God's promise, is his word, is his agreement with who he's making that covenant with. So if God said it, if he promised, if he made a covenant, boom, it's done. Okay? You could take it to the bank, you can cash it. That's the word of God. All right? So when he makes a covenant with someone, that's his promise. So, okay, so now that we know what a covenant is, let's see what else we can talk about here. One of the things I wanted to point out was God blessed Noah, right? So in chapter 9, verse 1, it says that God blessed Noah. So the language used here is nearly identical to the same thing that we saw in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, when God blessed Adam and Eve, right? Or Adam and Heva, Adam and Eve. God blessed. So what we saw in Genesis 1:28 is that God blessed them. God said to them, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it." We have a repetitive of the instruction given to Adam and Heva, Eve. So this is just some chapters later, emphasizing that Noah and his descendants were to continue with the designated task of populating the earth with righteous people. So, Adam and Heva, Eve, God gave them the same exact task when he created them, right? And so when God wiped out the earth and wanted Noah and his sons and their wives to replenish the earth, he gave them the same instructions that he gave to Adam and Heva, Eve. So I like that, right? God is like, boom, we're starting over with you. Here's the instructions. Boom, do it, right? I like that. Just to reiterate the covenant that God made with Noah, and his sons with him. He said, and as for me, I am here within establishing my covenant with you, with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you. So God made covenants with the animals too. The birds, the livestock, and every wild animal with you, all going out of the ark, every animal on earth. So that's the animals' descendants as well. I will establish my covenant with you that never again will all living beings be destroyed by the waters of a flood, and there will never again be a flood to destroy the earth. And God added, here is the sign of the covenant I am making between myself and you and every living creature with you for all generations to come. I am putting my rainbow in the cloud. It will be there as a sign of the covenant between myself and the earth. So whenever you see that rainbow in the sky, remember, God made a promise with earth, with the animals, and with mankind that he will never flood the earth again, that we have a promise with God. And so when I see that rainbow, it's like, okay, God, I see you. Thank you for the promise. Thank you. So it says, whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow is seen in the cloud, I will remember my covenant, which is between myself and you and every living creature of any kind and the water. I will never again become a flood to destroy all living beings. The rainbow will be in the cloud so that when I look at it, I will remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of any kind on earth. Every living creature of any kind on earth. So there we go. God has a covenant with us. He will never wipe out the earth again, or mankind and living creatures and all that. Okay. So there's that covenant. And so the next thing I wanted to point out here was Noah cursed one of his sons, right? He cursed one of his sons. So it says here, Noah was a farmer. He was the first to plant a vineyard. He drank so much of the wine that he got drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. So he was in his own tent. He drank too much and, he was, plastered, laid out, done for, right? But he was in his own tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father shamefully exposed, went out and told his two brothers. So he went peeking in Noah's tent, saw him laid like that, and went and told his two brothers. So he was like, look at him, gossiping, right? Come over here and take a look at this, right? So Shem and Japhet took a cloak, put it over both their shoulders, walking backwards, went in and covered their naked father. So they didn't want to look at him like that. So they went in backwards with a cloak, and then they just went over to him, laid that cloak down on him, and then went back outside the tent. So that he wouldn't be looked upon like that. So their faces were turned away so that they did not see their father lying there shamefully exposed. So when Noah awoke from his wine, he knew what his youngest son had done to him. So even though he was laid out and he was drunk, he was aware of what was going on. All right? He was aware. So he said, cursed be Canaan. He will be a servant of servants to his brothers. So this is the second time we see a curse in the Bible. So the first time we saw a curse was when God cursed the serpent. So we don't know how the snake was before he was cursed. We don't know if the formation of the snake, if he had legs or if he was upright, but the curse made it so that he would have to slither across the ground, which I could go back to that curse since we brought it up here. All right. So Adonai, God said to the serpent, because you have, so this is in chapter 3, verse 14. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 14, Adonai, God said to the serpent, because you have done this, you are cursed more than all livestock and wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust as long as you live. I will put animosity between you and the woman, and between your descendant and her descendant. He will bruise your head, and you will bruise his heel. Okay, so there's the first curse that we saw in the Bible. Okay, it was to the serpent. The next curse that we see here is when Noah cursed his youngest son for, you know, talking about what, the condition he was in. And, so curses are real, y'all. Okay. Right. So keep in mind, blessings are real, curses are real. Okay. And both of those come from our mouth, and both of those are, go into the earth. So as we're reading, we will learn about blessings and curses, and also speaking blessings over ourselves, and removing any curses from our lives. Right. So there's genealogy and bloodline curses and generational curses. So those are things that I want to touch upon as we go through our reading as well, and also speak blessings over ourselves, remove curses from our lives, from our bloodline, and we will get into that as well as we continue to read the Bible, and we have the understanding of what blessing and curses are, so that we can speak blessing over ourselves and remove any curses. So reading the Bible, understanding the Bible, and once you have understanding of what you have access to, of what's going on in the world, of the spiritual realm, of angelic forces, demonic forces, it's all here in the realm of the world and the earth that we're in, and knowing how to be an overcomer and be on the good side of the war that's happening in the world, that's really happening in the spiritual realm. So not to go too much into that, let's continue reading. The next thing that we can talk about here. Okay, so that was the end of chapter 9, where Noah cursed his son. And going into chapter 10. All right. Chapter 10 was not the easiest thing to read, because it was a lot of the generational and the genealogy of the lineage of Noah and the sons and their daughters and sons, and basically where they lived and that whole type of thing. So I'm not going to reiterate that. It says here in chapter 10:25, it says, one was given the name of Peleg. Peleg means division. So in its derivative meaning, it means to divide. So both communicate, or to split off from, or to separate. Either the physical earth was changed by geological phenomena such as the continental drift, or this denotes a political, religious, or social upheaval among the emerging clans or nations. Okay, so Peleg, it said at that time the world was divided, and that was in chapter 10, verse 25. So here, moving on, in chapter 11, verses 4 and 5, it says, let's build ourselves a city. So the people came together. They were all speaking the same language, and the plans of the people were extremely self-centered. So Adonai came down. He came down from heaven to earth. So he was like, let me see what's going on. Let me get a closer look at what's going on over here. I need to get my eyes on this. Let's see what's So Adonai came down, and it says, revealing that nothing the people had done had escaped his attention. Okay, so God's attention is, you can't do anything without Adonai, God himself, not knowing about it, right? Nothing escapes his attention. There's nothing we can do that escapes his attention. And so at that time, he was like, we're going to have to, the people, what I do like about this, I will tell you this. It said that there's nothing that they could not accomplish because they were so unified. The people were so unified that there was nothing that they could not accomplish. So that tells you a lot about unity. When you come together and you're unified, there's nothing that you cannot accomplish. Tells you a lot right there. So they said, come, let's build a name for ourselves. Um, let's build ourselves a city with a tower that has its top reaching up into heaven. They wanted to reach heaven so that we can make a name for ourselves and not be scattered all over the earth. So they wanted, like I said, they were self-absorbed. They were only thinking about themselves. They want to make a name for themselves. They did not want to be scattered over the earth, even though God told them to go scatter upon the earth and go to different places. They wanted to stay in this one place, and Adonai was not having it. So I like it here where it says they wanted to build a tower that has its top reaching into heaven. And they were building it and they were accomplishing it. And Adonai was like, wait, what? These people are unified, they're together, and there's nothing that they can do that that they can't do. There's nothing that they can't do. Let's see if I could find where it says that. It says, Adonai came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. This is chapter 11, verse 5. Adonai said, look, the people are united. They all have a single language. And see what they are starting to do? At this rate, nothing they set out to accomplish will be impossible for them. Nothing they set out to accomplish will be impossible for them. So Adonai was like, not having it. He said, come, let's go down and confuse their language so that they won't understand each other's speech. So boom, they were like, okay, pass me a brick. Boom, pass me a brick. Pass me some of that stuff that they, sealed it with. Maybe it wasn't concrete at that time. I don't know. But they were building their tower and everything. And well, once they were speaking different languages, they were just like not understanding each other. What do you want? A brick? What do you want? Ceiling? What do you want? I don't understand what you're saying. So they had to disperse. And those that had their languages that could communicate with each other went separate ways and, populated the earth like God wanted. God will always get what he wants. His purpose will rule, period. It doesn't matter the plans of a man's heart, God's purpose will rule, right? So that's in Proverbs. We will get to that. Okay, so is there anything else? It says here in chapter 11, verse 10, the genealogy of Shem. According to Rabbi J. H. Hertz, the main purpose of the first book of the Torah is giving a complete account of the founders of the Hebrew race. Abraham, which is Abraham, and Yatzka, which is Isaac, and Yaakov, which is Jacob, and their children. Abram is traced back through 10 successive generations to Shem and the sons of Noah. So there you have it. And then it ends with going into Abraham, and he took a wife, Sarai, who was barren, and his nephew Lot, So it says this, here is the Haran died before his father. Okay. And here is the genealogy of Terach. Terach fathered Abraham. All right, so Terach fathered Abraham, or Abram, and Nachor and Haran fathered Lot. Haran died before his father, Terach in the land where he was born in Ur of the Keshtim. Okay. So Haran died. So Lot's father died. So that's why he ended up going with Abraham, which was his nephew. Or Abram. Abram. His name's not Abraham yet. Abram. So the name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nachor's wife was Melechah, the daughter of Haran. He was the son of Abram. His sons, Haran's son Lot, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they left Ur of the Kashdim to go to the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they stayed there. And Terach lived 205 years, and then he died in Haran. So I know Abram and Sarai are brother and sister. I was hoping to find it here where we could find exactly how we know that they're brother and sister. Okay, well, maybe we will find it. Maybe we'll find out later how they're related. I don't think they have the same father and mother, but I do know that they are like half siblings. You know, like one of their parents are the same parent, but it doesn't say it here, and so maybe we'll find out more as we read the text. Okay. So anywho, but Abram and Sarai are husband and wife. Okay, so boom, we have that there. And that sums up our study portion of chapters 8 to 11. Thank you for hanging out with me and going over these scriptures. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm enjoying our dive in deeper portion of the reading, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Love you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure you press the bell notification so that you receive all notifications so that you know when the next video drops. All right, talk to you later. Bye.